All right, Nick, let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys. Brian Schottenheimer, love him or hate him, he is now in control of this team and he's in control of the offense as well. But the new question is what's going on the defensive side of the ball? And the latest Dallas Cowboy defensive coordinator candidate, I think, would be the absolute perfect hire for this team, is exactly what they need. But before we get into that, I'm Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. As I alluded to, Nick, Dallas interviewing a great defensive coordinator candidate. Let's get straight into it and we can talk more about it on the other side. This is from X and it's actually from at Tom Pelissero. Great reference here. Great reporter with all the great insights. It says, former hashtag Bears coach Matt Eberflus is headed to Dallas today for an interview. And as long as all goes well, he's expected to be named the Cowboys defensive coordinator per sources. A big hire for new coach Brian Schottenheimer that should be finalized soon. So it seems as if everything goes okay, this is the guy. Matt Eberflus will be the Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator. Think this would be a great hire for them. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this one, Nick. But before we get to you, Cowboys fans, in the comments section below, let's just pretend everything went right. It most likely will. He gets hired. What do you think of the Eberflus hire? Is this an A? Did they knock it out of the park finally? Is it a C? You're still not sure. Or is this an F? It is another failure for this Cowboys front office. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. But Nick, let us know your thoughts on what this Cowboys hire of Eberflus would look like.
It is absolutely perfect. It's absolutely outstanding. There's a lot of factors when it comes to hiring any coach, head coach or assistant, but there is a reality when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, and Cowboys fans love it, hate it. It can be frustrating at times. I understand, but the reality is it is different playing and coaching for the Dallas Cowboys than it is in any other franchise, probably in American sports. There's a reason the Cowboys are the most valuable, most popular, most media attention sports franchise in the world, second to none, right? The difference between the valuation of the Dallas Cowboys, number one in the NFL, and number two, the Los Angeles Rams, is the difference between 2 and 20. Lights are always going to be bright. And if you're going to be a head coach or a top coordinator, which obviously Eberflus is going to be for the Dallas Cowboys, you need to know what that's like. One of the things I think a lot of coordinators and assistants fail when they come to Dallas, and players sometimes too, the lights get too bright. They just can't handle the attention. It frustrates them and they collapse under pressure or they just never make it, right? We see this from players all the time and coaches. They eventually leave. Some do well, some don't. But some teams, some coaches, excuse me, they're better coaching for the Cleveland Browns, or players, they're better playing for the Atlanta Falcons, right? Where they don't get the attention, or the Arizona Cardinals, right? Where they can do their thing and not the attention. Some people are built for it and some people do great in it. Eberflus, former linebackers coach for the Dallas Cowboys, when Jason Garrett was running the show, phenomenal job. Obviously, led the Cowboys in terms of quality defense in 2014 and 2016 to great seasons. He did great job coaching up guys like Bruce Carter, brought the best out of Rolando McClain, who was left for dead as a bust, became a great player for the Cowboys defense, right? So we look at a guy in Eberflus who maximizes his talent. And even with the Indianapolis Colts, when he was the defensive coordinator, ever since he left Indy, that defense has dropped dramatically. This is a guy who knows how to coach defense, who, by the way, in the Bears, generally speaking, the second half of this past season notwithstanding, played really good defense when he was the head coach there. He knows how to call defense. He knows linebacker play, which the Cowboys desperately need right now. That's the weak part of their defense on top of interior defensive line. He is a perfect fit for the personnel. They got young linebackers that need developing. He's a perfect fit for the mentality, and he understands the atmosphere of playing in Dallas for being part of the Cowboys. And the final point is, I always love coordinators who are former head coaches because they get it. They understand what it's like to be a head coach. They know what the head coach needs from them because they were in that position. Phenomenal hire by the Cowboys. I know a lot of people are not happy with Schottenheimer for a lot of really valid reasons, to be totally honest. But all those people, you've got to be 100% stoked with the potential hire. But by the time you're watching this, he probably will be the next defensive coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, Nick, and I think you talk about this, bring up Schottenheimer. I think this is a great hire for him as well because, like you said, you have to know how to coach with the Dallas Cowboys. Schottenheimer, he does know how to coach the Cowboys as a coordinator, but he doesn't know how to coach the Cowboys as a head coach yet. He's still learning those ropes. So bring in a guy like Eberflus, who he's been a head coach before. He's been a great defensive guy before. He can kind of handle his own. You're probably not gonna have to worry about the defensive side of the ball too much. It's not like you have some hot shot young up and coming coordinator or position coach that you're trying to feel out and do you trust him to run the defense? That's not the case here. Eberflus is a very seasoned guy. He's been a head coach before. He's been great on the defensive side of the ball. Kind of plug and play, forget about him. And I think that's exactly the kind of guy that Schottenheimer needs. He needs to be able to focus on offensive side of the ball and the head coaching duties. He can't really think about the defensive side of the ball. Eberflus would be the perfect guy to take care of that. I think, downgrading from head coach to defensive coordinator probably makes Eberflus a much better guy. Like you said, the Bears had pretty decent defensive games at times last season, especially you look, they're 12th per PFF in defensive grade. That's not too bad, but they just had up and down gear all over the place. So I think Eberflus, this is going to be a fantastic hire. I'm hoping it gets done. I don't see any reason why it shouldn't be, but this would really work out for both sides of the ball if it goes down.
And that brings one final point here for people, and a lot of people are very critical of the Schottenheimer hire. I think it's important to see how the staff shakes out, right? Because even former defensive coordinator Dan Quinn, who is a quality defensive coach, no one's saying he's not. We just saw what his defense did against the Philadelphia Eagles. They got absolutely obliterated. 55 points, the most in a playoff game in 25 years, the most in NFC Championship game history. That was a debacle. And obviously, what happened last year in the postseason against the Packers, Dan Quinn 28-3, blowing that lead. Dan Quinn is a great defensive coach, but even he has flaws in big games. Bringing in a guy like Eberflus, I think to fit this strategy of resetting the nature at the linebacking position for the Cowboys is the right approach. They no longer need to turn around. Dan Quinn, like I brought up, he's a turnaround artist. They need a guy to maximize the talent and steady the ship. Eberflus is the perfect guy to do just that. Best hire probably in the last 2 years of the Dallas Cowboys.